All we know is that in flawless awareness, in just allowing flawless awareness to be the case just as it is in every moment of life, that love just permeates everywhere, that it pervades everything, that it's completely unstoppable, that there's never a moment that is unloving. So, this is who we are, and this is what naturally comes about. And as I said, just by basking in the truth of who you are in a very simple way, the certainty about that dawns in you in a way that is completely beyond words. In other words, you can't say how it came about. You can't say, I did this, and then I did that, and then I did this other thing, and then I spent 5 years doing this, and boom. You can't say any of that. You can't say how it came about. What has never come about can't be made to come about. It just cannot be made to come about. And so the circumstance of knowing this about ourselves is very simple, direct, and straightforward. It's not something that we have to strive or effort for. What is unachieved and unachievable is the innate reality of our being. That reality of our being that has never depended on anything else. So, who we are, the reality of our being that is completely love-filled and spacious and wide open. It's never been made into any appearance. Not any appearance. It's not been made into this or these. It's not been made into the air or the sun or the earth or the universe or anything else. Anything we can perceive of or conceive is simply an appearance within our awareness. So the universe or universes or whatever they may be, all these ideas we have that are appearances, they're all appearances of our own awareness. And that timeless awareness is not dependent on any of those appearances. This is very simple and straightforward. And even if it seems like you've been making a lot of effort to attain this, or you have attained this, whichever way you think about it, that either it's something you need to effort to attain or that it has been attained, it's neither. It can't be said to be attained or that any effort will attain it. You see, neither of those positions needs to be taken. Awareness is forever without extremes. Just like the purity of space is aspectless, so too awareness is aspectless. The moment we try to hold to an aspect like I've attained or there's something to attain, then we're lost in that little netherworld of whatever it is. We don't need to take up a position anywhere. The flawlessness of everything just as it is guarantees that we're always totally free in relation to whatever appears. That the dance and song of awareness as it appears, it's simply the self-appearance of awareness, the self-song of awareness. All sounds, no matter what they are like a sound and an echo. And all appearances, no matter what they are, they're like a dream. Now, I used a very specific word when I said both of those things. I said like a dream and like an echo. I didn't say a dream and an echo. So this is a mistake that's often made, to say it is a dream or all sounds are an echo. We can't really even say that. They're like a dream. They're like an echo. We can't really describe what this is in any way. If we say it is a dream, we've adopted a position of nihilism. We've said, well, it's a dream. There's nothing. Everything comes from nothing and leads to nothing. And so if we say like a dream, well, we don't have to say anything about what appears. All we can in a very basic way, say about what appears is that everything that appears, look around, it's distinct and clear, it's absolutely vivid as it is, and it is absolutely forever empty of an independent origin. It has no independent nature. So this vivid appearance that is so distinct and clear is forever empty of an independent nature. It's never been made into something. It's always and forever stainlessly flawless, timeless awareness and nothing else. It's always and forever stainless, flawless wisdom and nothing else. This can only be realized in the immediacy of our own being, in the complete perceptual openness of all experience. We don't have to entertain or scrutinize or speculate about any philosophical assumptions whatsoever. Just in the definitive conclusion of our own being, the ease of our own being just as it is, and familiarizing with that, it becomes more and more certain. No matter how long we live, so that we're not going anywhere. There's no one going anywhere. In timelessness, there's no one going anywhere. There's no sequence of events in timelessness. Everything that you want to understand about cause and effect and the relationship of cause and effect with the uncaused and the unaffected and how those are not two, those things can never be understood from philosophy books. It can only be understood in the immediacy of our own being, the complete perceptual openness in all experience. Then all those things we've read, we come to understand them in a straightforward way that involves no intellectual speculation whatsoever. So this is the good news. This is the good news. It's very good news. It's such good news. I used to be a very hard worker. In my youth, I was a very hard worker. And I accomplished a lot. I efforted and I achieved, and I efforted and I achieved, and I efforted and I achieved, and I efforted and I achieved until I was 28 years old, and I said, well, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do for an encore after all this efforting and achievement? And things looked very bleak because I could see ahead of me that all there was more effort and achievement leading absolutely nowhere. That my ideas that at some time I would feel like I had achieved, or that I had reached satisfaction and fulfillment, that I'd finally become an adult. It never happened. It really never happened. Oh dear, that was dismal. That was a very dismal moment when I realized that. But it was also wonderful because it was really the crux of the matter. There's nothing that can be achieved. That was the crux of the matter. And all kinds of things happened then, this, that, and the other thing, great turmoil, confusion, desperation, bewilderment. And in all of these appearances that seemed so upsetting, and like they'd never end, and so hopeless and desperate, I finally realized that all of these appearances, no matter what they are, they have the same underlying basis. And that basis is not something separate from them. It is them. It's not separate at all. And that when I just rested as that great relief that is the basic space of everything, it just became natural in an effortless way to experience my own being just as it is, without needing to make anything out of it. I'd never read any books on non-duality, so I didn't have any philosophical band-aids to put on it. I just would think, wow, this is incredible. This is really amazing that all of these things I've been distracted from all of my life, that they've never been distractions in any way. There's never been anything to look for or achieve anywhere. It's already absolutely present, and I didn't really even know what to call it. It was just total relief, and in that, total love. The more relief there was that was experienced, the more I just felt wide open and loving and compassionate. So all these things I'd always thought about, to love and be loved, to belong, all of that was realized in just the simple relief that is the complete ease of our own being. There's nowhere else to look. If we're looking anywhere else, it'll never be found. If we're looking anywhere else, we're always at least one step away, or maybe many steps away. But doesn't it seem that this would be the way it is, that we already are who we are, so how could that be a difficult task? How could knowing who we are be a difficult task when we already are who we are? Silly, isn't it? And how could it be that we'd have to place ourselves in a yet another circumstance where we were afraid of being excluded if we didn't toe the line, or where we had to act in a certain way in order to be loved and be accepted? The great mother of everything is very kind. Really. It's never been any other way. If you think it's some other way, come here and see me again. You know, have you ever heard of the Marquis de Sade? Now, I'm not departing from what we're talking about here. Well, the two concepts of sadism and masochism came out of the Marquis de Sade. So S&M, it's commonly called S&M. But you know, really, when we believe in all the appearances, that's what we're living a life like that. S&M, that's what it is. Because we're constantly sadistically punishing ourselves with all our appearances and being punished by them. So we live a whole life of discipline and punish, discipline and punish, discipline and punish. And we, I tapped into some things with people here, but that's okay. Yeah. All we are is the all-encompassing pure view of awareness that is inclusive of all points of view, no matter what they are. And if we're attempting to avoid the points of view that are primordially pure or replace them with something else, so we're replacing one that is primordially pure with another that is primordially pure, just like the aspectless sky. Do you see what I'm saying? We live a life of discipline and punish, discipline and punish. This is just what our whole life is about, huh? You didn't know we'd be talking about the ultimate form of S&M today, did you?